I'll let it be. Is this too busy?
No, I think
Is
we're
it
good.
too busy
I think
for
we're
the
good. I think we're
album?
good. No, we're good. We're good. Let's get it.
Yeah, all right, shit.
Secret House.
Secret House.
Secret House against album reviews. Peace. Welcome back. If it's your first time at the channel, consider liking, subscribing, hitting the bell for notifications. Also, we've got the Patreon for those of you who would like to get us some money for train tickets and also to purchase music from the artists that we like and appreciate. That would be really dope.
Some of those gummies, dog.
Yeah, get to it. But yeah, today, you guys know me and Jet. We're missing our man El Spade, but we do have my brother Terrence here from Brooklyn. You know, he does a lot of things out here in Tokyo too. But today we're here to talk about the new album by Nappy Nina, Mourning Due. 14 songs, 36 minutes. Nappy Nina is an Oakland-born writer, producer, MC. I believe she's in Brooklyn now.
Yeah.
She's worked with the likes of Yeji,
Yep.
Quelle Chris, and Sun Lux. Fucking Sun Lux.
Shouts out to Sun Lux.
Yeah, you know, Anticon type of shit back in the day. This album is produced by some of her longtime collaborators. Nelson Bandela. Shout out to the name. Dane Zone of Sunny Moon. Not familiar with him. And J Words. Beats in the background right now by J Words. And the majority of these tracks on the album are produced by her. It includes features by Logi, Cavalier, More Mother, Just Money, Omi the Homie, Masai, who was on that King Vision Ultra, Mavi, shout out to Mavi, Stas the Boss, and Nathan Bajar, I believe.
Yeah.
This album, and I quote, is a record that considers grief a currency and questions who is owed that. Recorded in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, from 2019
Brooklyn.
to last year, 2022.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so let's talk about how we are familiar with Nappy Nina or any of these producers.
Innocent Country too.
Okay,
She's got a feature on there
that's right.
on the Quelle Chris. That's one of my favorite albums. She's great on it as well. Everyone's great on that album. That album is great. You should
Phenomenal.
listen to it if you haven't. Yeah. No, this is the first time I've listened to a full Nappy Nina project.
I am also familiar with her in the same way. I thought she was dope. Last year, I saw that an album dropped, but I kind of scrolled right past it. And I didn't actually connect that was Nappy Nina from the Quelle Chris album
Yeah.
up until later. And then I was like, all right, I should give it a chance. But because we are constantly talking about new albums, it kind of just fell to the wayside. And my mistake, because this album's fire.
This album's
How are
fucking
you
great.
familiar with Nappy Nina?
This is new to me. I feel like I've heard a name, maybe, from listening to you guys, but other than that, this is my first time listening to one of her projects.
Okay. Yeah. So let's get into the album. Who wants?
I'll also quickly, before we get into the specifics of the album, it was released on Lucid House, which I believe is a label that was founded by Nappy Nina among other queer black creatives, which is fucking dope.
Oh, super dope.
Okay.
Like a lot of most of the features on here are affiliated with or somehow involved with the Lucid House label, but they do real good work, and I think it's dope that there is a space like that in hip hop to make dope shit like that.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. She is a unique voice in hip hop by just the virtue of the type of content she makes and being a black woman, because it's not a space that's overrun with black women. And for the more popular black women who make hip hop music, we have, you know, very few who are on this lane. You know, you can consider like a Rhapsody, on that level, and there's a few, but you know, in terms of the cultural consciousness of the culture, like the zeitgeist of who the big women in hip hop are, they're making music that you can twerk to most of the time with content that you just don't. Not similar to this in a lot of ways.
Sure.
Who's the chick that raps with my man from Rochester?
Remy Ma?
Nah.
I don't know.
What's the beat with Benny and them?
Oh, Shay Noir?
Shay Noir.
Okay,
Sure.
bet.
We
Yeah.
might get around to that soon too.
Yeah.
She just put an
We
album out.
just haven't listened to that. But stylistically very different.
Yeah,
For this album, man, like it's the first full length project that I listened to of Nappy Nina's work, and I was pleasantly surprised about how much of a styler she is. She has a very unique. Sorry, I drank a Coke Zero earlier, so I got like mad burp energy. But she's a unique styler, and I guess she comes from a spoken word background where she was rapping a lot of her spoken word stuff, and it really comes across in the music. Like I enjoy her style. It feels as though the music she's making too, and the production choices that she has are just different enough than what is so popular in underground independent hip hop of this similar lane, where it's like what Elspeth would call is like dirgy, single sample loop, with minimal drums, or lacking very hard kick drums and things. And this album, not only is her rhyme style different, but the production choices on this album are phenomenal. Like I think that was one of the things that first stood out to me, is the production choices and her style and how they complement each other. It's really a unique experience. I love this album off rip. Which like I'll leave some space for y'all to get it off. I've got a lot to say, but
All right. Likewise, I love this record. I think this is a very comfortable early candidate for one of my favorites of the year. I could see this in my top 5 by the end of the year.
Wow.
Yeah,
I really enjoy this record. I think it's refreshing to hear it from this kind of perspective, because there's even some subject matters on here where I'm like, okay, yeah, we've heard this in rap music before. But
I mean, just on the Navy Blue album,
on the Navy Blue,
addresses a lot of these things. Yeah,
but I think Nappy Nina brings a really interesting perspective to it. I think her voice and her when I say her voice, I don't mean that in the literal sense, but the manner in which she presents it, I think is mad dope. The production on here is generally very minimal and sparse, but it's also very measured and well considered. I really enjoy how there's musicality, but also it's not showy or flashy at the same time. It's like jazzy, but not like overly academic.
Right.
All of the features on here, some of whom I was familiar with, some of whom I was not, are pretty great across the board. I was really happy to see Staz the Boss,
not familiar with her.
formerly one half of duo The Satisfaction, whose album Au Natural, which came out probably a decade ago now, is a really kind of, I don't want to say formative record, because I was already like 20 years old at that point, but an important record to me, and a record that I loved a lot. So I'm happy to see Staz like still doing stuff. Shouts out to Staz and Kat of The Satisfaction. And yeah, Stone Soup might be my favorite track of 2023 so far.
Is that right?
Wow.
That's the joint with More Mother on it, produced by Jane Zone.
Yep.
And of course, like, you guys know we're big fans of More Mother.
Oh, yeah.
The blacker the berry, the deeper the portal. Yeah, that one's phenomenal. What do you got on it? I'm looking at your notes.
Not really notes. It was just kind of like I basically wrote down like my favorite tracks, and as Jet said, Stone Soup. That's probably my favorite track, and then I like Weeping too as well.
Weeping Waltz with Cavalier.
Yeah, with Cavalier.
Yeah, the beat is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And yo, there are a few artists that when I hear features from them, I fucking kind of lose my mind. And like I said on the last joint, Zero is phenomenal. You guys know every time I hear a riff napalm, still riff verse, I'm fucking super happy. Cavalier is one of those guys for me. Cavalier is, I've been patiently waiting for his newest album to drop, because he hasn't come out in maybe 3 or 4 years. And he always comes proper on every feature. He's a feature killer. And man, I loved his verse so much off of that. Time and time again, he's just super dope. And if the high regard that I hold cats like Mavi, More Mother, and Cavalier, Nappy Nina does not falter. There's no renegade situation on this where it's like, damn, your feature got killed. No, she's dope. And the feature choices on this album, the way that she works and has her back and forths, like with Stas, that back and forth, and one of my favorites with Masai of Hair, Smug. So dope. That back and forth, it reminds me for the old underground hip hop heads, it reminds me of a lot of like old Latyrix type of shit. And man, I am just pleasantly surprised and also a little disappointed in myself that I didn't hop on the Nappy Nina train earlier, because for me, this album's great. And one of my favorite things has got to be the production. The production is varied and different in the approach. You can tell there's a lot of intent to creating. It's not like, yo, that beat sounds good, let me rap on it, and then who can I get on it? How about I just get some random person I'm connected or talking to?
They're not.
It's
just
creation.
Beats. They're compositions. And that's I think a real credit to this album, is that it is compositionally very interesting, as well as being something that just like bangs or sounds good like through a car speaker.
I mean, like this beat right here, Amen, the way that she gets off, it's dope. Her flow, you know, it kind of reminds me of the chorus on that Chris Spencer, Chris Crack joint, No Biggie.
Yeah.
But yo, like so many of the joints on this are just different. You really got to listen to what she says too, because she's addressing a lot of things on this album that are often marginalized just because, for the sake that, you know, women don't have the same type of voice and carry. And even when it comes to you know, your anti-racist movements or all of these leftist spaces, black women continuously are kind of devalued for their voices and pushed to the side or lumped into the struggle with the black men and minimalized. Like, oh yeah, black men are being killed by the police. It's like, oh yes, but you know, we forget about black women's struggle. And this album, man, like, I like what Navy Blue is saying on his album, but what Nappy Nina is saying and the way that she approaches it is a little bit different. There's something that feels urgent and important to hear when it's coming from this type of space.
Yes, the urgency is a big part of it, because even like some of the production, like if we just listen for a second. There's like 4 production elements.
Wait a second. Tethered to turfs where I'm staying, like turfs and also turf, it's deep.
There's like maybe 4 elements to the production going on right now, right? There's some drumming, there's the main chords, there's the little like dissonant parts on there. And then like there's like a bell or something. Pretty minimal. And Nappy Nina's rapping like someone's pointed a gun at her. The urgency and the immediacy of like, even though she's not even like going crazy hard, like she's not like exerting herself physically, but just the sort of timbre and the pace that she's kind of putting down across the whole record is phenomenal.
She has almost like, it's not quite double time, but it's like it's like faster triplets in a lot of ways. Like, tell your little rapper friends I will not engage. You know what I mean? Like she's so dope. And what I especially love about it is because it's very hip hop to me. I mean, it's very hip hop to me in a sense. It's like it feels rooted in that basic kind of 4 element history of hip hop. You know, I grew up on artists. I grew up during the time where there was a lot of biodiversity in hip hop, and we had a lot of women MCs who were making music back then that were just still uncanny and dope. Like if you know, I grew up around like figures of speech. Right, for those of you who don't know, like one of my favorite early female women crews. I don't know if it's problematic to say female, but I try to avoid keeping up with the, you know, those type of social cues. But you know, but what I'm trying to say is like, Ava DuVernay was in Figures of Speech. You know, she was Eve, and this to me is like her barring out, but it's not like, yo, here's a bar. There's that poetic aspect of it that makes it feel just different, but it's still rooted very much like, this is a super hip hop album to me in a way that a More Mother album is beyond it or left of it or avant-garde. And this album is still left and avant-garde and different, but if you play this for somebody, they're like, yo, this is like hip hop, this is rap shit, but it's not that golden age, like, yo, like you're supposed to, a rap is a certain hat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's really hella different. This is just one of the few tracks on the album, and it sounds so deeply different than the next. Like the next song. Listen to, I mean, man, this album is my first listen, I was like, ooh, oh, this is dope. And then my second and third listen, I was like, yo, she's going off on these things. That song, Cope.
Yeah.
Cope is amazing, bro. Like, if you get into the lyrics on that shit, Cope, she's like, on Cope, it's absolutely beautiful. She talks about her methods of coping with cigarettes, or with, I don't know if cigarettes or whatever. I thought cigarettes because I'd be coping off of cigarettes right now. She talks about coping with smoke and drink and food and substance abuse and pressure and self-sabotage. And the way she goes about it is just ill, bro. Like, pour myself a glass of that middle class laugh. Like, she's trying to get to this like space, and I don't do it any justice because I'm not writing a dissertation on the meaning behind it, but there's something there, and it resonates with me in a way that nothing on the New Navy resonated with me on. Like, I'd be on that, like, tell me why my enemy list is so long. I don't know, bro. She's dope. It demands, and I know you only got to listen to it this morning, and you didn't get to do a lot of the work because a lot of it slips past you. Like, oh, she rapping. Yeah, it's rap. They do raps. She's great at rapping. But man, there are layers to be pulled back here that I feel are just tremendously important, and I'm happy to have a voice like hers in independent hip hop. I am now thoroughly a huge fan of this art. And Jay Words, the producer too, and yeah, I'm tuned in. I'm about to give some money to them. I gotta buy this one
for sure.
Me only listening to it like late last night, I wouldn't do it justice. So I definitely want to sit with this more and listen to it. But definitely, I definitely like her delivery, her cadence, and then the way she rides the beat on a lot of tracks. So
listen how beautiful that, like, it's just like it's not like one of those things like, guess what we're gonna do? A beautiful piano run on this. We're gonna hit them with like, y'all like samples? Fuck that. We're gonna get a piano and make it beautiful. But it's like
-7s.
It doesn't sound any. It's not like a like. It feels so organic. Like.
It's killing me though. Tell me what is in my enemy list is so long. If I did, what can go wrong? Sometimes I sip the trip and chance to overstand my stance.
To overstand my stance? I sip the trip to.
Tell me what is in my enemy list is so long. If I did, what can go wrong? Sometimes I sip the trip and chance to overstand my stance. Cope.
It's beautiful, bro. Like, man, this song "Cope" is undoubtedly on my top 5 songs of the year so far. I played it so much.
There's a few tracks on here. I mean, Cope definitely is up there as well. The first half is a beat switch, but the first half of beat ending bending, with that little acoustic, that little guitar part. It's not an acoustic guitar, but the guitar part at the beginning. I'll wait for the guitars to come in, but this is like, what if the chill hip hop beats to study to was good?
Yeah. What if they weren't just anime, fucking orchestral anime samples that owe a lot of money to fucking Nujabez's family?
Right.
Yeah, this is really dope.
Beginning.
It's so funky, but it's like not like funk.
The
it's
kind of
beautiful.
vaguely syncopated offbeat thing. Everything's very loose. Nujabez, Dilla, obviously. But even then, she's not letting up. The urgency is always there in the rapping.
Even the title of the album is like a double, right? Like it's like Mourning Due, but it's like mourning, to mourn, like to feel sad, to grieve, and due as in like, but versus like, fucking morning dew on a leaf or on, you know what I mean? Like, yo, man, Smug too. It like both of those tracks are so different, right? Like of course there's music, like instrumentation going on, but Smug. Last night I was on a Yamanote and it was crowded as shit, and I was a little bit irked and aggy, and I listened to the song and I was like, oh my god, I gotta hear this for the rest of the night. It's just like it's this joint reminds me of old Lyrics. It reminds me of old like global flotations, ad lib, subtitle, like
Fat John, Size Star, 5Ds, like that whole school as well. Like
they've got like a log cabin style where it's like the end of her word is the beginning word of the next sentence. Like, this is some real log cabin experiment shit.
It's a language for idiots. Kill ourselves to get picked. The scrimmage is kiddish. It's the world we live in. Should be taking me for a twirl, so I dance with it, Earl, and romance with it. Throw up the damage, then show up to man. It's just the way of the game. Play or get played. The rules is loose, but the screws is tight, so I can see through it like.
Yeah, this is fucking.
An arrangement made.
I know 45-year-old dudes who fucking die for this type of shit. Like, it's so rooted into, like, she from Oakland too, so there's got to be, you know. I don't know, man. Top tier music here.
Also, I assume she's Caribbean because there's a track on there called Sorrel Sip. And sorrel is a very, very popular drink. I mean, specifically, you know, I'm Jamaican, so I see that as a Jamaican thing. But I guess that's a thing, like, across the Caribbean, because, like, my friends from Barbados are big sorrel drinkers as well.
You know about that,
So-
T?
I don't.
Okay.
It's like a ginger mulled wine type drink, something like that. Like something you drink in the winter to like keep yourself warm. It's very sweet, but it's got a spice to it.
Gotcha.
Just real Caribbean cultural signifier. So shouts out to my Caribbean fam.
I got to do more homework. I'd like to know more about this person and the variety of people on this. Logi's on this, and he's tremendous, phenomenal. This is now I give it my 5-star rating. I recommend this to anybody that appreciates good art. Yeah. Who would you guys recommend this to? I have some actual recommendations other than people that like high art.
I'm gonna recommend this to people that are into like early 2000s French rap. If you're into like MC Solar or Science Super Crew, there's a bit of that soulfulness going on, but at the same time very like technical, high rate, and just like sounds real good sonically, goes down very, very smooth, even though there's a lot lyrically and you know, interesting going on.
I would recommend this like most easily to fans of other artists who are kind of similarly in this lane of empowered women who are really dope. You know, your Rhapsodies, your More Mothers, your like even the Filipino side of it. Shout out to my Filipino sisters. Ruby Ibarra is also pretty good. There's a lot of really intelligent, super dope women who are doing this. But I have a few book recommendations for those of you who are looking to get more into theory and getting more into reading, if I might. And I decided not to go with the past, champions and the people who have actually really been disseminating the material and historical conditions of black women, especially those in the legacy of the slave trade and diaspora in the United States. But I've got 3 brand new ones. New-ish ones. The first one I want to hip you guys to is by one of my favorite intelligent, what is the word I'm looking for? Not organic intellectuals, but like, she is actually a professor, Dr. CBS, Shalise Burton-Stelly. She wrote a book with Jody Dean called Organize, Fight, Win. It's about basically it's an anthology of a lot of black women communist writing, and for those of you that don't know, there's been a lot of black women communist writing. There's been a lot of black communist writing for and towards liberation in the United States. I highly recommend that one. I've already finished it. And then 2 other ones that I'm kind of in the middle right now. One is called The Dark End of the Street by Danielle McGuire. Black women, rape and resistance, a new history of the civil rights movement. For those of you not too familiar with anything other than what you were taught in school or saw on some, kind of documentary, the way that we conceive of the civil rights movement around specific figures making these advances is a little bit of a limited view on it, even as something is, something that's been dissected as much as Montgomery bus boycott and Rosa Parks. Like, there's a lot of different moving parts there, and there have been a lot of black women who were in the center of those fights and doing a lot in those fights. So you could learn more about that there. And there's also another book called A Black Woman's History of the United States by Callie Nicole Gross and Dana Ramey Berry. Title speaks for itself. Pay attention to these things. Read theory, please. You recommend this to anybody, T?
I don't have about.
Recommend it to yourself, yeah? You gonna go back and check it?
I recommend everything to myself.
Hey. Yeah.
But definitely, if you're not like the Nicki Minaj, what's the other girl? I can't keep up with you.
Cardi
Meg
B,
the
Megan
Stallion.
Meg Thee Stallion. If you, yeah.
I like all of those artists. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, no, this is definitely a very, very different school.
Yeah, and it's not to say that there isn't like people out there who appreciates both sides of hip hop, I guess per se. But
Sure.
Yeah.
There's space for both.
Yeah,
There
there's space
is
for both.
Even a bit of a pop sensibility to this album.
You think so?
Even though I would say, obviously it's very underground and independent and very strange in a lot of places, it is a very consumable record, I think. It's like the production's very, very pretty. There's no like abrasive voices on there. Obviously even like Logi and Mavi and Cavalier kind of smooth, very, flow very smoothly over those, over their verses. So I wouldn't even like necessarily gender it like that. But, I think this is an album that you could play to someone who is not familiar with underground hip hop, and they'd be like, oh, this is really nice, even if they're not really absorbing what is being said on the record.
Yeah. Secret House Against. Shout out to our Patreons. We've got a video coming up for y'all now. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Patreon.
Secret House Against 15.
15. I don't know why it's 15. I think that's just the auto thing. Was there 15 before us?
You made
Anyways. Yeah, that was the second one I made. I forgot to log in for the first one. Yeah, I'm like an old man with the technology. But I edited this video, and now there's a transition coming now.
Do it. Don't do it. Beat it. You did bite it.
That shit was funny. That story is really good.
Don't do it. She said, damn, what y'all doing? She said,